Now, last night, the two whitest men in America, with the exception of myself, went head-to-head in one of the least anticipated, least watched debates in modern political history. I mean, we're talking a glass of milk, warm milk, versus white bread. And that's what we had last night. Like, not too appealing. Okay? So, this debate was so uninteresting that it received only about half the numbers that the Trump versus Clinton debate had recently got, and even less than the numbers in the VP debates in 2008 and 2012. Now, the debates between Joe Biden and Paul Ryan, to give you the numbers, is about 51 million viewers. Okay, that's not too shabby, right? Now, you had the Biden-Sarah Palin debate back in 2008. Now, that actually ranks as the most watched vice presidential debate ever. It got 69.9 million viewers. So about how many did this get? This last night's debate between Mike Pence and Tim Kaine. They got about estimated around 40 to 50 million viewers. Okay. Look, that's not very, very well rated, but for a VP debate, I guess it's okay. 40 million is nothing to slouch at, but definitely not the most anticipated, definitely not the most interesting debate. Now, we have some differences here between style and substance. Now, there's a lot of right-wing pundits that have immediately given Mike Pence the win, basically based on nothing but the style of the debate. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, look, Tim Kaine, and I think he did Hillary Clinton a favor with some hits to his popularity, decided that he would go and interrupt Mike Pence all the time. Now, he interrupted him to call him out on his bullshit. And speaking of bullshit, PolitiFact gave Pence a 31% truth rating. Which means most of the stuff, 69% of the stuff that he said, the claims that he made, were bullshit. Now, the opposite, Tim Kaine got a 79% truth rating. So 79% of the time, he was actually saying facts. And most of those were him interrupting Mike Pence to say, actually, dude, no, that's not true. What you're saying is bullshit. It's not true. You're bullshitting your audience. I'm calling you out on it. And, of course, in the middle is this poor moderator that's like getting stepped on, getting steamrolled. Now, the moderator, I wasn't too impressed because she allowed that to happen. And a couple of other things is that about the moderator is that she didn't bring up actual good questions. Where were the questions on climate change? Where were the questions on money and politics? Where were the good substantive questions? It ended up talking about Russia, talking about terrorism, roughly half the debate. Yeah, terrorism, that's an important issue, of course. But so is climate change. We're literally boiling here. Okay, ppms have, for carbon, have hit over 400. And it's steady. You don't think that's an issue? We got superstorms affected by climate change. You don't think it's an issue? The Pentagon thinks that's an issue. No, let's not talk about that. Let's not bring those up in the debates. Let's talk about how terrorism, or we'll talk about Putin. We'll talk about Hillary Clinton's emails. Yeah, okay, man. Look, we've talked about the emails ad nauseum. You got to make some room for other shit too. Stuff that's actually important that really impacts the planet. So that's my problem with the moderator and the questions. Another thing is the right-wing framing. In fact, let me get to that. Let me get to the substance about this whole thing. Okay. Now, the moderator brought up some issues like Social Security. Now, the problem is that she brought it up in a right-wing framing. She framed the question as, hey, Social Security it's going to go bankrupt. It's going bankrupt. What are you going to do to save it? What are you going to do to protect it? Now, anybody who knows about Social Security knows that it's not going bankrupt. It actually has a $2 trillion surplus. And at some point, it'll get to the point where it can't pay out the most benefits. That's in about 30, 40 years. We still have time to fix that by raising the income cap. Of course, they don't want to talk about that. They want to frame it in the way of, what, we got to cut Social Security somehow. We got to cut it. We got to raise the retirement age because it's going bankrupt. It's going bankrupt. You're not going to have it. You're not going to have it. No, one simple fix, and it could be funded in perpetuity. But right now, it's sitting at a $2 trillion surplus. I hate the framing of these questions. And there's another one that's more of a right-wing framing and more fear-mongering on the national debt. Now, she cited the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. Now, she said that according to this nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, neither of your economic plans will reduce the growing $19 trillion gross national debt. In fact, your plans would add even more to it. Look at the framing on this. Now, let me give you some background on the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. See, this is, yes, it's a supposedly nonpartisan organization, but it's a political organization. It has an ideology. This ideology is that of Pete Peterson, who runs the Pete Peterson Foundation. Now, this guy is a billionaire whose only goal is to cut your Social Security and your Medicare and privatize it. Basically, cut your social programs that you paid into to give himself a tax cut. That's Pete Peterson. He runs the Fix the Debt campaign. The campaign's on cutting your Medicare and Social Security. I wouldn't trust anything that comes out of that foundation. But there it is. And look, about the national debt, right? An economist notes that interest payments on the debt, which is what all these right-wingers are freaking out about, and this moderator, the corporate media, they're freaking out about this. These interest payments are actually really low. And that reducing the debt should not be the highest priority. Now, should it be a priority? Should it be something that we should try to do? Yeah, but we should do that by creating jobs and increasing revenue through taxes, for example. Like, you grow the economy, you grow the middle class, and that will take care of your tax problem. We don't want to do any of that. No, what we want to do, or I should say what Trump wants to do, is give more tax cuts to himself and will increase the debt. In fact, his plan would increase the after-tax income of the richest 1% between 10% and 16%. Now some people are going to say, well, look, you got to give tax breaks to the job creators or else they're not going to be able to create jobs. I mean, only rich people create jobs, right? Well, you tell that to all the people who have actually came up from nothing, have innovated from nothing. Tell it to Steve Jobs, who worked in his garage, okay, and built Apple computers. Tell that to him, who actually built a business without actually being rich. He created jobs without being rich because he had an idea. So no, it's not rich people that create jobs. Rich people are the end result of job creation. You create a successful company, and then you get rich doing it. It doesn't start the other way around. Anyway, those are generalities. Of course. I'm sure you could find somebody who was rich who actually has created jobs. I get that. But anyway, his tax plan is just basically him saying, let's funnel more money to me. Well, that's not going to work. If tax cuts on rich people created jobs, we should be swimming in jobs. Especially after the Bush years. What happened at the end of the Bush years? Crash and burn. Anyway. So, as I said, don't trust anything from the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. They're bullshitting you. And so is Donald Trump, so is Mike Pence. Now, the Tax Foundation on the debt estimated that Hillary Clinton's tax plan would reduce the national debt over the next 10 years by $498 billion. So if you actually do care about the national debt, there's her plan. That's what it would do. But anyway, some of the other issues I mentioned it earlier. Russia, talking about, and this is an issue that both the candidates agree on, by the way. Both Mike Pence and Tim Kaine want to do more intervention in Syria. That's going to bring us into conflict with the Russians because the Russians are pro-Assad. Let's create safe zones, is Pence's plan. And, well, Pence and Trump. Well, the problem with that is that how do we keep them safe? Well, we're going to have to put troops down there. Those troops are probably going to come into conflict with others. And it's basically like a ground invasion of Syria. If you're against war, you're kind of out of luck. Both of these candidates support some sort of action in Syria. Tim Kaine, of course, doing the no-fly zone, which is Hillary Clinton's plan, which would, of course, bring us into conflict with Russian planes that are backing Assad. So those are no good options when it comes to these two candidates, and they agree on some of the scariest stuff when it comes to foreign policy. Now, community policing, something else that they agree with. Now, that sounds good, right? I've said, hey, let's do some more community policing. But if that's your only solution, well, then it's not going to work. It's not going to do anything. What we need, as well as community policing, is to actually do some revamp of the training for police officers and more accountability. That would be a way to help that. Now, let's go to, so we've got the substance. Let's go to some of the fact checks, right? Now, Mike Pence, of course, is laughably wrong when he calls the military weak. Oh, we got to rebuild the military. We've got to rebuild the military. We've got less ships than we had before. Yeah, but we have better ships, the most technologically advanced ships we have. Why does it matter the number of ships that we have if they're that much more advanced than anyone else? We actually spend more on our military than the next 8 countries combined. We have an annual budget military of $600 billion. No, we got to rebuild the military. That's bullshit. Our military is already the strongest. Not only that, but he lied about, of course, privatizing Social Security. No, Mike Pence supported privatizing Social Security. And so did Donald Trump back in 2000. He said privatization would be best for everyone. He also lied about foreign money not being allowed in U.S. elections. Well, thanks to Citizens United, something that conservatives love. And admittedly, Donald Trump said, I'm against Citizens United. It's a disaster. But Mike Pence says, no, money in politics, especially foreign money in politics that are allowed by Citizens United, great. It doesn't happen, he says. But foreign nationals can, thanks to that decision, funnel money into U.S. elections, into the political process. For example, I think the International Business Times or the Intercept talked about how Jeb Bush was getting funded by 2 Chinese foreign nationals that were able to funnel money into his election campaign. So he lied about that. Either that or he has no idea what he's doing. But see, I tend to think the latter because unlike Donald Trump, Pence actually knows what he's talking about. He's actually a very dangerous individual. And see, this is the problem. This is who would be running the country. And it's kind of amazing seeing the results of the debate in mainstream media saying, oh yeah, Pence, he won the debate. I thought that to win a debate, you would actually have to be correct on the facts. But then again, we've turned debates into a pageant, into a style show. And if you interrupt people like Tim Kaine did, well, that makes you lose, even though you're actually correct on the facts. And that's what bothers me so much about the election cycle. That's what bothers me so much about the debates, It's no longer about factual information. It's about who looks more presidential. This is why Donald Trump could come out and claim he's won debates on style and on strength instead of on facts. That's why overwhelmingly I believe that nobody won this debate. That the American people have lost. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.